पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ बहुत सारे महाज खुले, कुछ हमने खुद खोले और काफी सारे हमारे खिलाफ खोले गए। आज के महाज
बूटे और सूटे के नाम। बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मैं हूं वजाहत सईद खान। वेलकम टू अ वेरी स्पेशल एपिसोड ऑफ महाज। ये स्पेशल एपिसोड इसलिए है क्योंकि आपको पता है कि मैं इस वक्त ये रिकॉर्ड नहीं करता, मगर इस वक्त रिकॉर्ड करने पे मजबूर हुआ हूं क्योंकि आज एक तारीखी दिन गुजरा है। बूटा और सूटा, मीनिंग आसिम मुनीर एंड शहबाज शरीफ। बूटा मैं आसिम मुनीर साहब को इसलिए कहता हूं क्योंकि वो हर मीटिंग में बूट पहनते हैं, इवन अपने सिविलियन कपड़ों पे बूट पहनते हैं जब वो सूट पहनते हैं, और इवन जब वो व्हाइट हाउस में जाते हैं तो उस वक्त भी वो बूट पहनते हैं, जैसे आप इस तस्वीर में देख सकते हैं। तो बूटा ही नाम उनका पड़ता है। और ऑफ कोर्स सूटा मतलब जो हमारा छोटा है, क्योंकि सूटा जैसे जेब में आप डाल देते हैं, कभी जेब से निकाल लेते हैं, कभी लगा लेते हैं, कभी बुझा देते हैं। यही शहबाज शरीफ की खासियत है। बड़े अडेप्टेबल हैं, बड़े वर्सेटाइल हैं। बूटा और सूटा आज ट्रंप के साथ 1 घंटा 20 मिनट की मीटिंग में बैठे। 30 मिनट ट्रंप साहब ने इनको इंतजार करवाया। ट्रंप साहब पहले अपनी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करते रहे।
I solved 7 wars. In fact, we have a great leader coming. We have the Prime Minister of Pakistan coming and the Field Marshal. Pakistan Field Marshal is a very great guy, and so is the Prime Minister, both. And they're coming, and they may be in this room right now. I don't know, because we're late. And I said maybe they'd like to join the. They actually may be somewhere in the beautiful Oval Office. Yeah, please, behind you.
और अपनी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस जब उन्होंने खत्म कर ली तो फिर इनसे बाहमी अमूर के ऊपर बातचीत हुई। ये बाहमी अमूर क्या थे अभी तक पता नहीं चला, क्योंकि इस पे ऑफिशियली कोई स्टेटमेंट नहीं आया, क्योंकि प्रेस नहीं था। हाँ, तस्वीरें ली गई और जबरदस्त तस्वीरें ली गई, और कुछ अजीब सी तस्वीरें भी ली गई, जिसमें एक साइड पे बूटा है, एक साइड पे सूटा है, बीच में ट्रंप है। ट्रंप का एक ही हाथ मिला सकता है, दोनों तो हाथ नहीं मिला सकता। वो ऐसे तो हाथ नहीं मिला सकता होगा, तो ऑब्वियसली ऐसे ही हाथ राइट हैंड से ही मिला सकता था। बट अजीब सा खौफनाक किस्म का आप कह सकते हैं एक रियलिटी आज जाग उठी है कि पाकिस्तान की खौफनाक किस्म की ये जो रेजीम है, ये जो अपैरेटस है जो इस वक्त मुल्क चला रहा है, इलेक्शंस चोरी करके, हाईजैक करके, एक्सटेंशंस लेके, वो इस वक्त व्हाइट हाउस तक पहुंच गया है। और ये खूबसूरती है और बदसूरती भी है इंटरनेशनल जियोपॉलिटिक्स की, क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल जियोपॉलिटिक्स में ये नहीं देखा जाता कि किसको कितने वोट मिले थे। ये देखा जाता है कि किसके पास कितने हथियार हैं, किसके पास कितने फौजी हैं, किसके पास कितनी कुव्वत है। जो लोग पॉपुलर होते हैं, बहुत सारे ममालिक में बहुत सारे और ऐसी मिसालें हैं। हम इमरान खान को रोते रहते हैं, मगर बहुत सारे लोग ममालिक में बहुत सारी मिसालें हैं। बहुत सारे इमरान खान आके गुजर गए हैं, मगर बहुत सारे बूटे और सूटे अभी भी बैठे हुए हैं। और ट्रंप की रेपुटेशन है, ट्रंप को स्ट्रॉन्ग मैन पसंद हैं, ट्रंप को डिक्टेटर्स जो हैं उनसे थोड़ा सा लगाव है। ट्रंप को पुतिन पसंद है, खौफनाक किस्म का डिक्टेटर है। ट्रंप को वो नॉर्थ कोरिया का वो जो मोटू है किम, वो पसंद है, वो उससे भी खौफनाक किस्म का डिक्टेटर है, मिला हुआ है वो। तो ट्रंप को फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि कौन कितने वोट लेके आया। ट्रंप ऑफ कोर्स खुद वोट लेके आया है, इस बात में कोई शक नहीं, मगर ट्रंप को फर्क नहीं पड़ता कि कौन कितने वोट लेके आया है, कौन चोरी करके आया है, कौन ट्रंप के साथ धंधा कर सकता है। ये ट्रंप का खास जो है प्रोरोगेटिव होता है। एक कंडीशन होती है कि काम धंधा करो। इसलिए ट्रंप ने खुदे लाइन लगाया हुआ है आजकल हिंदुस्तानियों को, क्योंकि हिंदुस्तानियों ने वो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी नहीं दिखाई, वो चुस्ती नहीं दिखाई जो उनको दिखानी चाहिए थी विद द न्यू ट्रंप एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, क्योंकि वो पीछे रह गए, पाकिस्तानी आगे निकल गए। और अब 1 महीने, 2 महीने, 3 महीने में 2 मीटिंग्स। जून में मीटिंग हुई थी ट्रंप के साथ आसिम मुनीर की, आज फिर मीटिंग हुई है। मीटिंग में क्या बातें हुई, मीटिंग में क्या डिस्कस हुआ, मीटिंग में की क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है, मीटिंग का पाकिस्तान के लिए क्या मतलब है, और मीटिंग का पाकिस्तानियों के लिए क्या मतलब है, ये आज मैंने एक जबरदस्त एनालिस्ट जो वॉशिंगटन इनसाइडर हैं उनसे डिस्कस किया है। अगले जो चंद मिनट हैं अहम हैं, थोड़ी देर पहले ही रिकॉर्ड हुआ है. मुश्किल से ये एनालिस्ट मिले हैं इनसाइड द बेल्ट पे, कनेक्टेड विद व्हाट हैपेंड, हाउ इट हैपेंड एंड व्हाट्स गोइंग टू हैपन नेक्स्ट. माइकल कुगलमैन हमें ज्वाइन करते हैं वॉशिंगटन से. मैं इसलिए देर से शो किया क्योंकि थोड़ी देर पहले ही वो अवेलेबल हुए. जैसे ही वो अवेलेबल हुए ये शो रिकॉर्ड हुआ, और जैसे ये शो रिकॉर्ड हुआ है वैसे ही एडिट होके चल रहा है. शेयर करें, लाइक करें, सब्सक्राइब करें, कमेंट करें और अब शो को एंजॉय करें.
पाकिस्तान के खिलाफ बहुत सारे महाज खुले, कुछ हमने खुद खोले और काफी सारे हमारे खिलाफ खोले गए. आज के महाज.
And to make sense of all of this, it's that time of the week again when we pivot to Washington, D.C. and our favorite South Asia watcher, Michael Kugelman, who runs a fantastic brief for South Asia for Foreign Policy magazine, is back with us. He's a senior fellow at the Asia Pacific Center. He's also just returned to Washington from a long day on the sidelines of the UNGA Summit. The UNGA is happening, and Mike was here for all the action. Mike, too bad you missed me here in New York, but seems like you're well rested on that train ride back on the Acela corridor.
Yeah, well, it was actually an especially bad Amtrak experience, but we all have bad Amtrak experiences. So I'm not well rested, which means I'm a bit punchy now, but that's okay. This is a good way to end the day.
Well, Mike, it's been quite a day. And while you were riding that train, or much of that train, well, this happened. President Trump met with the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and I don't even know what to call him anymore. I mean, Asim Munir, the army chief, the field marshal, some people call him the all-powerful overlord of everything that is in Pakistan. But clearly, I don't have the right analysis or the analogy for him at this point. But he is clearly. This is the second time he's been in the White House in the last couple of months. Not a lot of people get inside access as much as he's been getting. Were you surprised that this meeting happened? And were you surprised that Asim Munir was there like twice in the last 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, again, we've talked about this before. It's just extraordinary how much has changed in the U.S.-Pakistan relationship so quickly and so suddenly. Was not entirely surprised that this meeting happened. There'd been some buzz in the weeks leading up to UNGA that the prime minister would receive an invitation to meet with Trump, though I think many of us, including me, thought that the meeting would happen in New York. Not that he'd be called down to Washington, which I think elevates the importance of the meeting a bit. And in terms of Munir's presence there as well, initially the reports were that Munir would not be there. But, as we know, we are beholding a Pakistani army chief who is more powerful than any recent Pakistan army chief has been. And that means that he's going to be front and center in pretty much all of Pakistan's important diplomacy, and of course anything with the U.S. constitutes important these days, and on the whole. So it's interesting because we all know this is the first time a prime minister has been hosted at the White House since Imran Khan in 2019. As you'll recall, when Khan went to the White House, the army chief at the time, Bajwa, was with him, but Bajwa took a very low profile, right? He wasn't really featured in many pictures, whereas now, this is how things have changed. Munir has been front and center. He was sitting not next to Trump. Sharif was sitting next to Trump, but he was in the next chair over. It's just a very different zeitgeist when it comes to, the way that the Pakistan army chief is projected these days. He is, Field Marshal Munir is omnipresent.
Yeah, so I want to talk more about this omnipresence. I also want to do a little bit of Kremlin watching. Is that what they call it? I mean, if you follow me on the screen here, Mike, I'm going to blow this up for you. I mean, this is some immense. There's tons of body language analysis which can be done here. I mean, if you're looking at the screen with me, and I hope you can view it. I mean, firstly. There's Shehbaz sitting in where the head of state or the Trump's counterparts always sit, but really you can tell as far as body language is concerned who's mirroring whom. I mean, it really looks like Trump and Asim Munir in pretty much the same sort of pose. And then, of course, here, eye contact here captured with Trump's really talking to Munir. They're probably talking about, it looks like some sort of replica of the White House, which is probably some sort of thing they do. There's that Marine, is it a sergeant? He's standing there, Master Sergeant. He's sort of like, presenting that article, and seems like this one is a really strange one, because this one is just like them doing what they do. He's shaking hands with the guy on the right, but actually, and the guy on the left is just standing there. I don't know what he's doing. Like, he's a crowd, it seems, but not in this one. And then there's this one, which just seems strange. I love the expression on Shehbaz's face. I want you to tell me, is this normal? I mean, I know Pakistan is not a normal country. I know that a grade 22 officer, a man with 20 something years of military service behind him, doesn't usually get to like lead a country of 25 million people, 250 million people. But is this normal for Trump? What do you think they were briefing him about? How do you think the briefers at the White House, the State Department, sort of said, sir, you got to have a balancing act. You've got to treat them like they're a married couple, but in this case, the man is X and the woman is Y. You have to show deference accordingly. How do you think he was briefed on this? Because, I mean, he's clearly got a balancing act, right, to do for the cameras, if not for in person.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was not briefed at all, quite frankly. I mean, this is how the White House, how this White House rolls. It's very unconventional. By the way, going back to the first picture you showed, I think we should give some props to the Prime Minister for his tie. It's a nice tie, and you could see it in the first picture. It looks like the U.S. flag, so I don't know if it's meant to be that.
I saw that too. I noticed that. I noticed the red and blue. I thought it was a good touch. It was a very neat touch.
Very nice touch.
Shehbaz Sharif with such a neat touch. I thought it was pretty nifty, wasn't it? The tie.
Yeah, nifty. I was thinking, I don't know what term I was thinking, but yeah, anyway, so that's a nice little element of the charm offensive. And, it's very clear that both of these gentlemen, the army chief and the prime minister, are always trying to apply the charm to President Trump, because that's what works. And there you have this tie. Who knows? Maybe Trump didn't notice it at all. But I mean, getting away from the sartorial, actually, this still does refer to sartorial elements. It is notable. We mentioned before the 2019 visit when Bajwa was there with Khan. Bajwa, as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, he was wearing his uniform, his military uniform.
Correct.
But Munir, whenever he's been on these diplomatic visits, he wears a suit, he wears civilian clothes. So I think that's interesting. As powerful as he is as army chief, he's always going to wear civilian wear when he goes to meetings like this. Anyway, that's probably just as irrelevant as everything else I've said on this point. But getting back to your comment about,
I mean, people are sort of like doing this right now, and I'd like to show this to you. This is interesting. I think you're onto something here, Mike. Always, you know what, Mike? I got to give it to you. You don't give yourself enough credit. This is something which people have picked up on and are showing that how Munir's gotten more and more comfortable, including in his threads. This is him earlier sort of hanging out with Marco Rubio, doing his thing. That was him meeting
Wendy Sherman.
So that was him meeting and she was a State Department legend, wasn't she?
Sorry, I gave the wrong name. It was Victoria Newland. That's who it was. I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't know where I got that.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not Wendy. So that's so Asim Munir then. This is a couple of years ago, and Asim Munir now. And you know what? I was talking to someone who was at that who met Asim Munir at the interaction he had then with the Pakistani diaspora. Then it was a couple of years ago, and then now, and they seem to say, when Asim Munir was last here, and they seem to say that the man's really grown into his job. Now, this is a Pakistani hotshot, you can say, who's sort of inside the Beltway and does well in one of those great multilateral organizations that run the world. And he was invited, and he's been sort of, watching this man do exactly what I just said, grow into the office. So coming back to my initial query, though, is this significant to you if you are in New Delhi that Asim Munir is now literally, well, I mean, he's not crowned king, but he sort of is now. It's official now, isn't it? The last time at lunch there was no press, but this time it's sort of official. He's kissed the ring. He's inside the Oval Office, and this is it.
No, absolutely. He has very much grown into his role. And this is something that I now with the, with some distance, I could say that I've been in present at meetings, two different meetings where he was present over the last few years. And it was very clear the second more recent meeting, he appeared to be much more comfortable and confident in his role. It's only natural, right? I mean, he's in the second meeting, he'd been in his position for a longer amount of time. But it is very significant, the latter point you made, the current army chief is different from many of his recent predecessors in that he had not had as much experience in the U.S., in the West more broadly, right? He had not attended military education or training programs in the U.S. or the U.K., correct me if I'm wrong, unlike many of his predecessors.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have made a number of people think that maybe he wouldn't have been as comfortable and at ease operating in Washington. But I think that, as you've just suggested, he appears very comfortable engaging in the nation's capital here. And that's very significant. And, for an Indian government that's already very concerned about how far this U.S.-Pakistan relationship has proceeded, I do think that, yes, there would be added concern that, Munir has clearly become someone who knows how to operate and is comfortable operating with the most powerful folks in the land here in Washington. And of course, it helps Munir further that President Trump is someone who really respects really powerful people. And we know how powerful the army chief is, even more powerful than the typical army chief is.
Right. Now, I want to take you to this. Remember this, Mike? This was not too long ago. This was just when around 6 years ago. This happened.
We are going to, that's right, we were paying $1.3 billion to Pakistan as aid, working for many years. The problem was Pakistan, this is before you, Pakistan was not doing anything for us. They were really, I think, subversive. They were going against us. And this is something we'll be I ended that about a year and a half ago, the $1.3 billion.
So this is an important, critical part of the relationship, right? Trump was, and he sort of says it himself, that to Imran Khan in July 2019, and he says, hey, things weren't going good. We were paying Pakistan. Nothing was happening. And now things are going to start happening. And they did happen because was it months after this that the Doha Accord was signed between representatives of the US government and the Taliban? And guess what? Guess who was important in making sure everybody talked to everybody? It was the Pakistanis. It was Imran Khan and Bajwa and that ISI apparatus, which made sure that transition happened. So Trump embraced Imran Khan 6 years ago because he wanted something. He wanted to pull out of that mess, which was Afghanistan, and he wanted the Accords. He got the Accords. The question, Mr. Kugelman, is that if he could give Imran a big hug and a big thank you and a big welcome and a big photo op with Melania then, and he's doing the same with these guys now, what does he want from these guys? He wanted Afghanistan from Imran. What does he want with these two?
Well, I mean, I think that he wants business opportunities. We know that there's already been a lot of talk about critical minerals possibilities. Trump seems intrigued about energy reserves that, so far as I know, have not been confirmed in Pakistan. And he seems interested in crypto-related opportunities. As you know, that two of his sons are a part of this crypto company that have already engaged closely with Pakistan's crypto council. So there's the business, there's the commercial side to this. Counterterrorism. I think that this is really the only, quite frankly, the only aspect of the current partnership, the U.S.-Pakistan partnership, that's actually seen substantive progress, right? I think that, because of what happened a few months ago when Pakistan helped the U.S. track down that ISK terrorist, Trump wants Pakistan to help the U.S. get bad guys that are threats to the U.S. So I think that's something else. And then there's the broader sort of like the broader global picture, right? The Middle East. I mean, Pakistan is increasingly, I mean, it's always been a notable player in the Middle East, but especially now, given everything that's happening in the Middle East, I think that Trump is hoping that Pakistan can be helpful, perhaps when it comes to Iran, probably perhaps wanting Pakistan to be that messenger for the US that can say to Iran, look, don't escalate, something like that. I'm not sure Pakistan will be comfortable doing that. But so there's a lot of things that I think Trump would like to see from the Pakistanis. Now, the wild card here, and this was the subject of my column in Foreign Policy this week, Trump wants Bagram back from the Taliban, which in my view is a completely absurd request or demand. He may want Pakistan to somehow be helpful in that regard. I think it would be a terrible idea for Pakistan to help the US be in a position to take back Bagram. But this is foremost on Trump's mind, and he's always going to be talking to anyone that he comes across about what's on his mind. So there might be something that he'd like Pakistan to do in that regard. But that said, I think we can be pretty sure that there's plenty of things that that the Pakistani delegation is looking to get from the US as well. They understand this is a transactional relationship. This resurgence in ties is not, the flowering of a new strategic partnership or alliance. It continues to be a transactional relationship, and Pakistan wants to milk that as well.
Okay, premised on that, just to expand a little further into what the Pakistanis have managed to climb into, this pact with the Saudis, which sort of puts them all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, it was a de facto relationship, security relationship they had with the Saudis for years, if not de jure. But now it's on paper. The fact that they now are a part of the Middle East's security apparatus with this mutual defense agreement, and the fact that there's a lot of talk about a potential role for Pakistan and whatever settlement the president is seeking for Gaza, etc. Do you think that came up in talks today? Besides, of course, the usual, Iran, India, China, etc.
First of all, you asked the question impeccably, and you even leavened your query with a Latinism. Perfect. Yes, the short answer to your question is yes. This is something that I'm sure the Pakistanis wanted to talk about, the Gaza issue, but certainly the Saudi-Pakistan pact, I'm sure was something that came up. I'm of the view that deal could not have been concluded without some opportunity for the Trump administration to offer its buy-in before it was approved. So who knows? Maybe it had been discussed earlier. Though I think the deal really came together after the Israeli strikes on Hamas and Qatar. So this may not have been the first time it was discussed. When Munir was met with Trump some time ago, maybe the deal was in the works then and it came up. I'm just speculating. So yeah, and it's obviously very important for the US because Saudi Arabia is one of America's most important partners in Saudi Arabia. And one could argue that the deal would not be looked at fondly in the US, and that would suggest that the Saudis no longer trust the US to provide that security umbrella. That might be true. But at the same time, given the state of the U.S.-Pakistan relationship now, the Trump administration might welcome this and see it as something that the U.S. doesn't have to do. And we know the Trump administration really, at the end of the day, wants to do less in the world when it comes to providing security resources, protections, that type of thing.
Right. And lastly, Mike, and quickly, but perhaps most critically for the people of Pakistan, there will be many, in fact, there are many in my show earlier today when I told audiences that the meeting is about to happen. This was earlier this afternoon. And if you read the comments of my last show, it's sort of a lot of people are despondent. Maybe it's just the sort of viewer I attract. But overall, people do fear this dispensation, this regime, which has been brutal. People are beginning to compare Asim-Munir to Yahya Khan back in 1971. And it's not just Imran. It's Amnesty International. It's Human Rights Watch. It's the HRCP. It's the lawyers who are protesting in courts now. It's many parliamentarians who can't go back to their constituencies because they're in hiding and they fear they may be picked up. It's many Baloch activists. It's many Pashtun activists. It's many journalists. It's many people who live abroad who can't return for fear of reprisal by the state. Asim-Munir is the big bad wolf, and he has the perfect front with a very, very amenable Shehbaz Sharif in pocket. And together, both of them are working well, at least in the White House. But What about those people who actually believe in the democratic project of Pakistan, who want its more liberal tendencies to shine and prosper again? I mean, just the other day, in a desperate plea, Imran Khan reminded Asim Munir through his sister that, hey, take a note from Musharraf. He was in uniform too, and he was running things, but people kind of liked him because he wanted to sort out the PPP and the PMLN, who are reviled largely. And so it was strange to see Imran appeal to Asim to sort of look up to another dictator who had a softer, more benevolent image versus what Asim Munir enjoys, which is, well, he's not a nice guy dictator, is he? There's no enlightened moderation in this GHQ. So premised on that, what do you say to those of our viewers who are thinking that this is not looking good for Pakistan's democratic project, definitely not looking good for Pakistan's most popular man, Imran Khan?
Yeah, well, first I would acknowledge those concerns. Indeed, I mean, the extent to which the military's power and repression has been increased in recent months, I think is unmatched in terms of any other time when you did not have formal military rule, even though Pakistan today, it's, I think de facto military rule just because of how incredibly powerful and repressive entrenched the institution is. This has not stopped Pakistan from doing a lot of very significant things uh, in terms of its foreign policy recently, which I think is maybe starts to get at the answer to your question that nothing is going to hold it back in that sense. And if there's any U.S. government that would be less likely to be concerned about those types of internal conditions inside Pakistan, it would be the Trump administration. And here again, I come back to something I've said to you and many times before. It was always silly to think that President Trump, of all people, would pressure the military to ease up on what it's up to and ease up on how it's treating Khan and so on. The pictures tell it all, right? Trump smiling, you showed the pictures before with Munir and Sharif next to him. He's perfectly happy with how things are. I mean, Trump is someone who happily met with a North Korean leader. He's someone who is very transparent about his admiration for dictators. I can agree with the despondency, given the current political situation in Pakistan, for the U.S. government to be feting these leaders. Absolutely, I could understand why it would not reflect well at home, but you can't expect Washington to be the one that's going to try to, shift that calculus. And, I know there's been some efforts on Capitol Hill, advocacy efforts to make some changes, some amendments to the new U.S. Defense Authorization Act that would, put a lot of pretty significant conditions on Pakistan unless it were to ease up on its repression, and that includes the possibility of withholding really important stuff like IMET, these really important military education and training programs that are hugely beneficial to Pakistan and also to the U.S. Because the militaries they partner closely on these things. Anyway, so there's that. But what happens on Capitol Hill, I think is not, I mean, that's definitely, it's very separate from what actually happens in practice, in policy when it comes to the White House. The White House is driving U.S. policy on pretty much everything when it comes to foreign policy now. That includes policy toward Pakistan. So I don't see any change to that to that reality.
Well, a lot of people will be disappointed by that assessment, Michael. But you're right. It's not the White House which is going to change the reality on the ground in Pakistan. It's going to play along with the powers that be, as it practically must. It's actually the people of Pakistan who must decide how they're going to live and not look westwards. As for those friends of ours who are advocates, who do good, hard work, trying to legislate and advocate and even litigate, well, all I can say is good luck. You did a good job last summer with that resolution. You moved the needle a little, but perhaps not enough, because since then, a lot's happened. And Asim Munir now has become quite familiar with the insides of the White House. Twice this summer has he gotten a tour and an audience with Donald Trump. And boy, oh boy, lots more to unpack, Michael, but I guess that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us this late from Washington, man. I hope you get some rest.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Michael Kugelman is at Michael Kugelman on Twitter/X. He writes a fantastic foreign policy magazine briefing, the South Asia briefing. The link for that briefing should be in the description of the show. Please follow him. Please subscribe to the briefing. It's a great read. And of course, follow our Substack. And by the way, you can see Mike and a bunch of our other experts who are on the show regularly in action at the Georgetown, Pakistan Public Policy Conclave, November 15th. Mike is actually moderating a panel, a really good one, a darn good one. And Mike is going to be there in action. So you can hold on to that autograph book and see Mike in person on November 15th, as well as a bunch of leading analysts, experts, academics, debate about the future of Pakistan and the Pakistani American diaspora and how public health and public policies can intersect there. That's in November 15th. The link is also in the bottom of the description right here. Thank you again, Mike, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Kugelman Zindabad. Sorry.
Kugelman Zindabad, Wajahat Saeed Khan and Kugelman Dosti Paindabad. Good night,
Both
Mike.
together. Good night.
All right. Share करें, like करें, subscribe करें, comment करें, membership options check out करें. Inshallah, जल्द मुलाकात होती है. I will talk to you soon. Pakistan, Zindabad.